EJ, you goes out, told you look like a pumpkin.
Coming out the corn.
So we just coming out of the cornfield, getting some food for the chillins and the people who at home. We left Paul back at home. We had to go into town get some wheat.
Good Lord,
what else we had to go into town get some wheat? We had to get some wheat
and some lard. You gotta make biscuits.
Some feed for the chickens.
Right.
Some lumber.
Gotta build a house back there.
Nah, because the fence needs to get fixed.
Oh, so that the chickens don't get out.
Now.
Right.
And then we got to go across the yard and see if we can get some wire.
Right.
Make sure we get the fence right. So the pigs don't break out.
Right, because we need bacon in the morning.
We need bacon and we need eggs though.
We need, eggs and bacon with the chickens and the hogs, right?
All right, now we got that. So that's what we just get finished doing. But in addition to that, today we're down with my baby sister in Mocksville, North Kakalaki. That's somewhere between Western somewhere and Eastern nowhere. That's where we at. That's how y'all find us.
Right in the middle of the stuff.
We right in the middle of somewhere and nowhere. That's how y'all find us. So put that in your GPS and see if you can get us. But anyway, we're down here shooting Spitting Anger, and gonna interview my nephew in a little bit and his coach. He's playing tonight. Is it War Eagles or Eagles War?
War Eagles.
War Eagles.
Proud orange and white.
What's their record right now?
Right now they're 0-2. I believe
Good Lord, oh my goodness. Maybe we might not take the game. Maybe we wait till after we take the celebration of the other team, right, and then we get his interview afterwards.
They working on it.
And so we're gonna be interviewing him, talking to him about his relationship, or non-relationship with his dad. But I'm just grateful that we're here with my sister and my brother, just kind of being able to use and talk about what we've dealt with in our family, you know, being fatherful and fatherless, and what those dynamics look like, not only for us, but what it looks like for our sons. And so it was an epiphany for me with EJ, because I happened to be looking at him one night on Facebook and saw him posting some things, and it just struck me odd. And when I looked at him, I said, my God, I forgot my nephew. And I forgot that he too is fatherless to an extent. And so even being in a relationship now where he is full of a positive male role model, I'm still too all aware that regardless of that fulfillment, that we still seek approval, we seek recognition, we seek love, and we seek attention from that guy who played a part in getting us here in the first place. Tell me what you're doing now with respect to him. Talk to me a little bit about EJ.
Well, EJ is still harboring some anger. Just last week we had to sit down and talk to him, because it's like he has a father figure in his life now. My husband, he's a great dad to him, and he understands his anger, but he's destined to get him to walk away from the anger that he's feeling, so that he can get something done positively. And sometimes when he gets angry, he doesn't want to do this, or he doesn't want to do that, or he'll half do this or half do that, and he'll say, well, I'm just so angry because I can't get my dad to talk to me about what he needs to talk to me about. So, you know, we had to stop and tell him, listen, you may be able to get him to talk, and you may not be able to get him to talk, but regardless of either one, you still have someone in your life now that can teach you how to be a man and how to stand up, so that you don't make the same mistakes with your children when you get of age. So he's pushing. I mean, it's been a struggle for him, and I think finally this year he's starting to get it, because he's starting to put forth a greater effort, because it's something that affects him in everything that he does, even in his grades. You know, he doesn't want to do, if he comes across something that's too hard, then he'll not do it because it's too hard for him to do. And it's just, right now we're working on trying to get him to deal with your anger, letting him know that it's okay to be angry, but instead of letting the anger stop you, let the anger push you to your next destination.
Okay. You know, I almost feel like as we're sitting here having this conversation that I should have a pitchfork in my hand and you should have on a straw hat and I should have a piece of straw hanging out of my mouth. and some overalls on. This corn, the corn in the backdrop is killing me because I'm like listening to you trying to be serious, but then I look in the background. I was like, there's actual corn growing up behind us.
Right.
But we were talking earlier, you know, and with all seriousness, and you know, this is a serious issue, but you know, one of the things that I've been blessed with in our family is even through the seriousness, we have always been able to find humor in our circumstance. So even though, you know, times get hard, you know, humor and understanding and laughter has always been our medicine. And as we grew up, even though I was 7 years older than them, and we had different kind of lifestyle situations and didn't have the brother and sister relationship like typical siblings have. We have gotten in an older age and begun to really understand how important it is for family to stick together. And so I was so proud and happy today when I came to her house this morning and she didn't come out onto the porch looking all country with her blue dress on and her apron wrapped around her waist with the rag on her head and her white nurse shoes with the stockings rolled up to her knee with the knot on the side and her Jesus fan. So we was happy about that.
I promised I was going to get up and get dressed this morning. I said I would.
So we're going to come back at you. We're going to get all the family together tonight and we're going to do a little take and we're going to talk about, we're just going to have some fun. And so while some of this stuff is going to be serious, I had an awesome conversation with my brother-in-law a few minutes ago and we talked about his relationship with EJ. We talked about his relationship with his dad and we talked about what God is saying to us about fatherhood and about parenting. We also talked about single mothers. One of the things Mush I talked to him about and I asked him a question I'm going to ask you is that oftentimes when we look at our church, we are looking at a bunch of single moms in our church and moms that sometimes misunderstand the connection between the earthly father and the heavenly father. How have you made that connection and how do we help mothers make that connection?
Well, here's the thing. Sometimes we have to understand that we as mothers, we have to carry the load a lot without having some kind of help. But if you have a strong faith in God, I promise you, He will always make a way for you to get what you need, to be able to be that strong figure for your children. And sometimes we as mothers, and I know I did this too, I looked a long time for someone to be a father for my son because I felt that he really needed that male person to show him some things that I couldn't. But then I remembered that whether that male person is there or not, God always gives me instructions on how to do what I need to do. I could always call on my brothers, you know, and tell them, well, your nephew needs, or your nephew, can you talk to your nephew or whatever? And they were always willing to be there. But when you get home at night and you realize that you're the only one that's there with them, you have to find a way to be able to take the pressure off of you to basically save face, let them know they can still make it. And that's where prayer comes in, that's where God comes in. And being in church, we just started our women's ministry. I relate to them. It's going to be about you. You know what I'm saying? I mean, you can depend on a man that's going to be there. Some men will step up and be a father to somebody else's child, and some won't. But regardless, you have to be able to give them something to stand on. And I've always been able to give my children the Bible, the Word of God, to be able to stand on, even if there wasn't anybody there for them to talk to. Pray about it, let God do what He do, and keep it moving. Don't ever stand still.
You know, one of the things that we haven't talked about, you know, but we've both been blessed almost at the same time to realize it, and that is God didn't mean for us to be parents alone.
That's right.
He didn't mean and He didn't establish this earth and this earthly world for us to do this alone. And we both got married recently in the last few years.
Yep.
And it is now that I'm realizing what one means. It took me a long time to realize and understand, you know, what does one mean? What does being equally yoked mean?
Right.
What does a helpmate mean? What does a helpmeet mean? You know, what does it mean to have somebody complete you and someone to fill you and someone to help you understand what you have to put into the lives of your children? And I don't want people to think that they can do this by themselves, because it wasn't intended for them to do it by yourself. And it wasn't intended for you to raise kids by yourself. It definitely wasn't intended for you to make kids by yourself.
Wow. It has taken off the pressure, because being a mom, you know, there's so many moms out here that are single and talking about, I can do it on my own, I got this, I don't need no help. And stop telling that story, because you need some help from somebody. And I thank God for my husband, because he has come in and he has set a foundation that has caused the house to come to order. Whereas sometimes the kids would drive me crazy and I'd be like, look, I'm gonna lose it. And he'll be like, you ain't got to lose it, you got the power, remember? I'd be like, hey, I got the power to do this. So, you know, he has encouraged me, he has pushed me, and he has let me know that there's a way to put rules in the house, to settle the house down without your blood pressure going up, without wanting to throw the
shoe or frying pan.
You ain't got to duck the eye coming off the stove, and thank God they make the stoves differently nowadays. But you know, you ain't got to go outside and pull the branch off the tree. You lay the rules, you lay the foundations, you have the power. And he has been that strong entity in the house that says, this ain't going down. You ain't about to stress your mama, you're not about to stress me. We're gonna do it this way, and if you do it this way, then you can get what you want. And one thing I can say about him is, as long as what he asks for to be done is done, there's really no restrictions. You can get, the kids can basically get what they need, go where they want to go, as long as you hold respect to the house. He's been, I guess I've been the happiest I've ever been. It took me to get old to get here.
But yeah, old happy ain't bad.
Right,
old happy better than young sad.
Right.
Any day. Give me
and
old
no happy. Or no happy at all. Right.
Give me old happy. I'll take some old happy. You know, with that sad sandwich, give me some old happy.
Give me some old happy. I'll take it.
And so, so we're gonna close this part of our interview, not because I don't love my sister.
I love him.
And we ain't got a lot to say. But it's church picnic hot out here.
Right.
You know, it's not the church picnic hot is different from like regular hot. Church picnic hot is like, you know, I'm sweating bullets right now, but I'm gonna eat this piece of corn. Ain't nobody. I'm gonna eat this corn, and somebody gonna bring me some Kool-Aid.
Right.
And I ain't going back inside, but we gotta leave, you know, because we gotta get to the church.
We're gonna be a whole different shade of another color in a few minutes.
You know,
right.
Because we gotta get back to the church. Somebody gotta crank the power up, because we gotta get this church fan moving.
Right.
You know, church service ain't church service unless you hear the church fan in the background.
Right. You got.
And we got to go pull out. And I need the Martin Luther King fan, you know, and the Jesus fan, because when it's hot like this, Martin Luther King having a dream just ain't enough. You need some Jesus too at the same time.
With the funeral advertisement on the back.
Right. With the funeral advertisement to give you the right circulation of air in the fan, so that you can get your praise on in the right manner.
Right.
So, alright, so we'll be back. So for now, we out of here. We're back into the corn, and we'll catch you at the field.
See y'all.